You know that age-old saying that timing is everything? Well, that's especially true when it comes to movies like The Lost Boys versus Fright Night. Two of arguably pound for pound the 80s best horror comedies of all time, or even just vampire horror films, I would say. And I think that I'm a huge defender of both of these movies. And really, if you put a gun to my head, I would have a really hard time choosing one, but I do pick one of them more than the other. We'll get more into that. Thanks for being here, man. Let's break this thing down, because when it comes to The Lost Boys and Fright Night, this isn't really necessarily a versus video as much as it is like when it hits you and what period of your life are you in. Let's break this thing down. I don't think I would love horror movies the same if I didn't find both of these films, right? It completely took over my imagination when I watched The Lost Boys at age 12. Completely. I was completely obsessed with this film. Not just because of the vampires, because of the lifestyle, man. On the front, it talks about eat, sleep, like sleep late, party hard. It's fun to be a vampire. That like classic quote. I was so obsessed with the music, everything, man. The California coats, the neon boardwalk, the motorcycles, the comic books. It felt like this weird dream version of teenage freedom. And honestly, I wanted to be a part of that gang. I really did. I wanted to be a Lost Boy so bad, because the vampires and David, they weren't just monsters. They were like these mythical anti-heroes, these almost like rock star outlaws, if you will, because there's almost like a Jim Morrison Lizard King energy that is flowing through the entire Lost Boys film. And I think that that is very seductive, especially for kids that just want to become a part of something, especially rebellious youth like myself, man. I'm not going to say I was a bad kid. I think I was a nice kid, but I just wanted to push the envelope constantly. And with The Lost Boys, I was able to do that. And I must have watched this thing 500 times. I bought this from Kmart, similar to how I bought The Evil Dead. It was all around that same time period, man. At 12 years old, this movie was hypnotic. It was rebellious. It was counterculture. It was anti-hero. It was dangerous in the best way. And Schumacher really just completely killed this thing. From, you mix in also like the Frog Brothers, right? The Coreys are in this movie as well. The comic book energy. Cry Little Sister, and the carnival atmosphere of Santa Carla, man. I just wanted to live there, and I would watch this movie just on a loop over and over and over, and it just became more than a horror movie. It became like a best friend. It became a feeling, and I loved The Lost Boys so much, right? And I found myself showing my son this movie. Me and my wife, we quote it top to back. I feel like it's one of the most quotable 80s horror kind of comedies that, actually, it's not Schumacher. Is this Richard Donner? Did I say that wrong? I think it's Richard Donner. Schumacher did have a part of it though, right? Anyway, I do feel like it's interesting, because when you discover this at 12 years old, you defend this thing because it becomes part of your friend group. As you grow up, you start meeting girls, you're going to parties, you're playing sports, you're riding motorcycles, you're drinking, you're having a good time. And The Lost Boys fits that image really, really well. And for whatever reason, I did not see Fright Night until I was like maybe 20. So I had a good 8 years with The Lost Boys being the pinnacle of kind of like vampire comedies and what I expected from a comedy. Just, it had so much pop culture, man. It was just so good. However, when I watched Fright Night, I was completely floored in a very similar way. I actually found myself loving Fright Night more than The Lost Boys. Was it recency bias? I don't know. Maybe. But if you've seen Fright Night, man, you know it's just, Lost Boys feels youthful and dreamlike, but Fright Night feels meaner. It feels sharper. It feels a little bit nastier in spots, right? And there's something about it, man. Tom Holland's script is one of the greatest horror scripts of the 80s. Anything Tom Holland, I'm such a massive fan of, because he can blend perfectly horror and comedy without undercutting either one. He makes you a part of the movie, and he picks like the perfect cast. He has the perfect music. He sets up the scene. It's so relatable. Like you're in your suburban home and you have to deal with this fucking Dandridge character. You fucking kidding me, man? Absolutely incredible. The dialogue's hilarious. The characters feel real. And when the horror does decide to hit, it hits pretty damn hard. It hits hard, and Dandridge is a bad man in this movie, man. He is. Chris Sarandon gives him this like smooth charisma that he can be charming and then just monstrous the next. Just absolutely incredible, man. I love everything about Fright Night. I love, of course, the practical effects. That's one of my favorite. I feel like the effects in Fright Night, especially that end scene, man, the last 20 minutes, it just continues to build and build and build. The glowing eyes, the werewolf transformation, the creature designs, it absolutely just becomes this slimy, physical, dangerous fucking thing. And then we get Peter Vincent. We get Roddy McDowall, and he's kind of like our savior through this plight. And he's playing a TV character of himself, similar to like Elvira. And it just, because I grew up with Joe Bob Briggs, because I grew up like this kind of 50s monster culture and loving that and worshiping it, man, gun to my head, if I would have watched Fright Night first, I'd probably be a Fright Night fan over Lost Boys. But I adore the Lost Boys, so I just feel kind of conflicted. And so Friday night, I wanted to watch something kind of classic. And I was going through like 80s movies that I was in the mood for because it's a holiday weekend. I thought Poltergeist 2, maybe, just in the mood for something good. And I ended up picking Fright Night. And I was like, why do I always pick Fright Night? Why don't I pick Lost Boys? Lost Boys feels like more like a main event you can do maybe once a year because it's so familiar. It's so instantly quotable. It's got this weird romanticism to it that I just... And it's perfect. It's perfect if you grew up in that era, and I still love Lost Boys. But I think, gun to my head now, watching that in my 20s, I probably rewatched Fright Night a couple hundred times since this, and I watched the documentary over the weekend, multiple, because there's Fright Night 1 and 2, You're So Cool, Brewster on Screambox. I watched that as well. And I just adore both of these movies so much, and I adore Near Dark as well. I feel like you can feel the love for old school horror in Fright Night, and you can feel this kind of like sharp, sexy mysticism in Lost Boys. And they're both right. They're both excellent films, both excellent 80s horror films. So really, if you're thinking versus, one of the smart things that I can say is you kind of need them both. I feel like it's really, really popular and trendy to love the Lost Boys. Everybody does because of the Coreys. I actually think that David's character and that actual scene when they first start feeding is one of the scariest things that I'd seen as a 12-year-old. That party scene when the music's going, man, absolutely incredible. You get the saxophone right. You get Tim Capello. I still believe. How can you shit on the Lost Boys, dude? It's part of my life too. So I need them both, man. I need them both. And I really need Near Dark to kind of come back into the fold with a great release. So we can really have like a trifecta, like a just the best trilogy of 80s horror, man. I'm so fucking excited for Near Dark. So yeah, let me know, man, where do you live as far as the Lost Boys go versus Fright Night? What would you choose? You could pick Fright Night too. I know that's kind of a hot topic right now. That's fine. That's totally fine. I think for my money, and look at this thing from VHS Slips. Whew, the steelbook with the slip. Dude, no slip, no dip. This steelbook is loaded. It's 3 discs, man. Absolutely incredible slipcase. One of my this is probably my second favorite horror cover of all time, next to Return of the Living Dead Part 2. So I'm a huge Fright Night fan. I'm also a massive Lost Boys fan, so I'm just feeling conflicted. So yeah, man, let me know down in the comments which one you would choose. Also, let's talk about something that really fucking annoyed the piss out of me today. Okay? I got a Barnes & Noble in town. And they're dicks. All right? There's a Kino Lorber sale going, 40% off, which means they're going to put their $45.99 fucking Kino 4Ks down to $26.99, which is where they should be on Kino and everywhere else. I go in there, and of course they've got, Night of the Juggler, great movie, I've got it. Shout out to After Hours Video, I love it. They've got things like Road Trip, they got Wayne's World 2, they've got a bunch of Kinos in there, but the ones that come out on release day, May 26th, Tuesday, release day, you'd think this is kind of important. The Great Outdoors on 4K. Arguably my favorite movie of all time. The movie I've seen the most of all time besides Jaws is The Great Outdoors. Howard Deutsch, John Hughes, John fucking Candy, Dan Aykroyd. It just goes on and on. One of my favorite fucking movies. I go into Barnes & Noble, and my buddy Retro Joe hits me up in the morning, and he's an early son of a bitch. Early bird gets the worm. He's like, hey man, going into Barnes, I'll let you know if they got anything cool. I'm also going to hit up Walmart, and it kind of saves us trips in town. Eugene's not a huge place, a couple 100,000 people. And so I'm like, cool, I'll know if I got to go to Barnes & Noble or if I got to go to which Walmart's got which deal, but blah, blah, right? Physical media life. And he goes in there, he gets the Great Outdoors, and he's like, there was just one. And I go, God. So I go online, and I add the Great Outdoors to my cart. I go into Barnes & Noble, and it's on my lunch break. You know, I waste my lunch break to go to Barnes & Noble to buy the Great Outdoors for $26.99 because on Amazon or Kino, it won't get here till next Monday. That's a no. I want to watch it today. My boy Retro Joe's got it, and he's watching it today. Me and Fernie are fighting over the last one. It kind of pisses me off. So I go in there and I go, hey man, there's no Kinos on the shelves. You guys have some in the back? Or it says that I added this to my cart this morning. It says I need to just pay for it here, and I'll be on my way. I need to go get some food. I got some steak in my back, but I'd really like to go eat. Yeah, let me look that up for you. Oh, you're not buying books? Oh, you're one of those. So she fucking pulls it up. She goes, yeah, it's not here. And I go, okay, cool. Well, then why would it let me pay for it? She spins the screen, and I go, I'm aware that you said it's not here. She shows me it's not here. It doesn't exist. And I go, I pretty much paid for it. It says there's multiple copies here. Give me my Great Outdoors, bitch. I'm sorry, sir. You can pay for it today, and we can send it to you in a fucking week. That's all. How do you think I'm feeling right now? Like a dick.